Hey, what's up guys? JayzTwoCents here, and we are taking a look at the back end of Skunkworks. We're looking at her big old booty. Anyway, today's going to be kind of a vlog style video. I have an upcoming project I'm going to be doing with this in collaboration with JayzTwoCents. And I've got to prepare for some wiring work here. So I figured we'll do a vloggy style video I haven't done in a while. And yeah, let's just say that my PC is not always as clean as some people might think. Why is my focus broken? OMG. So yeah, this is for those people who are saying,
your computer is always so clean. How is it always so clean? Oh my god, you must clean it every day.
yeah, I've actually already wiped some of the dust off, but if we take a look at the power supply here, look at that. Ugh. I'm trying to focus here, guys. I'm sorry. I'm using the cheap camera. Anyway, look at this. That is so gross. Anyway, what I'm going to be doing here with JayzTwoCents is we are going to be doing a custom wiring harness for this thing. So as you can see, I've got extensions here that I did a review on for both the 8-pin EPS power. I've got a 6-pin auxiliary going to the PCI Express lanes on the motherboard. And then I've got my 20 plus 4-pin extension. And then I've got 6-pin extensions for the 3980s in there. But as you can see, the wiring is a bit of a mess, and because they're extensions, I've got way more cables than I need. And so they basically said, let us do a custom wiring loom. Let's just do a whole complete custom kit. So what I've got to do is I've got to take all these wires out. I've got to plan and route where the wires are going to go, and then I have to measure how long each harness needs to be and give them those measurements. That way my EVGA 1600 watt P2 power supply will have proper length cables. So I'll probably get some custom fan cables made or make those myself. But I figure we'll just kind of do a vlog, a little maintenance here on how I clean the computer. I basically use this guy for the most part. This is just a electronics brush with anti-static bristles and sort of a microfibery type material. And then you just kind of dust like that, like you're a maid. Now the reason why the pumps and stuff look so bad is because, you know, as I have the 560 rad right in there for the graphics cards, and the air is pushed into this compartment. And the only thing I have pulling air out at all is I basically just take one of my extra static pressure fans, and I literally just sit it there. I plug the fan in up here on one of my Molex thingies, and then I let that help exhaust some of the air out, at least so it can force, you know, not really force, but coax the air to move its way out the rear vent. Otherwise, the dust just comes through and lands on all this shit and has nowhere to go. So one of the downsides of having extra long power supply like this one here, and then the 2 pumps down here and all this tubing, is I can't mount any fan, you know, brackets back here to move the air out. I guess in hindsight, I could have relocated these pumps somewhere else and then had like a 240 mount here, which would pull the air through. But really, the temperatures don't suffer at all. So I just kind of left it this way. But yeah, as you can see, it's it's pretty bad. It's gross. So I guess before I get too crazy on the dusting, I might as well just go ahead and remove all of the cables. Get those out of the way. Now, one of the other things I do which really helps with cleaning the case is I'll just take a microfiber cloth and I'll damp it. That way you can see how, like, you get inside all these little... I forgot how to use this lens, damn it. This is raw and unscripted. See all that dust and stuff right there? Like, these brushes don't really get in there too good, but if you damp like a microfiber, then you can get in there nicely and clean off all that dust. A case like this is textured, so the dust gets in that texture and it makes it really hard to clean. So yeah, dampening a cloth is actually the best thing to do. And I'll just do this usually like New Year's is kind of a tradition for me to do this sort of thing. Obviously, it's New Year's right now. And then I guess it's a lot of work, but dust is an enemy to electronics, and so I take it pretty serious. All right, so I pretty much got the cables straightened out how I want. You guys can see my fan splitters up there. You can't see it, actually. There's one in front of the radiator down there, and then there's one there. So I've had a lot of questions that I guess I didn't cover very well when I did my build log on this, was how everything's wired up. I have the 4 top fans in the top 480 rad going into a splitter right there, which then has this cable coming off of it here. It's actually really bright. Has this cable coming off of it here, which through this extension connects to the one down there in front of the radiator, which also has the 4 fans on it for the 560, the 4 140s. And then I have up there a Molex to 3-pin adapter, which is actually going to the motherboard CPU 1 header. Now the CPU 1 header on this is able to handle 2 amps and I think it was 28 watts, maybe 24 watts. And all of these fans at full load come in at less than that. So all 8 fans are actually being run off the CPU fan header, which I can control through the BIOS and smart fan control. The 3 on the front are just being powered off 4-pin 12-volt Molex with, you can kind of see it there, it's got 3 voltage reducers on there. So the front fans are running at only about, I think it's about 800 RPM, bringing in a lot of air actually, because it's completely unobstructed on the front. You can kind of see there, it just has absolutely wide open airflow into the case. And then the rear fan is also being controlled off of the fan header on the motherboard. It's just one of the chassis fans, and so everything's controlled on this with the exception of the 3 front fans, which are static. Now I'm actually considering adding a 360 millimeter rad to the front just for the hell of it. And actually makes me kind of want to put a 120 in the rear as well, because why not? Just fill this thing up with radiators. I don't know. We'll see. You may notice there's an air bubble up there in my tube. And that's just because I moved the drain tubes I have right there, which had some air in them, and of course they work their way up when I move those. And then once I turn on the system, that'll sort of just work itself out, and that won't be a problem. So what I'm going to do now, and I didn't unplug the 24-pin or the 8-pin and 6-pin down there because I don't want to go through having to plug those back in. I'm not going to actually unplug those until I'm ready to remove those. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get some string and then a long measuring tape, and I'm going to just pretty much route out the cable paths that I want, measure them, and then write them down and get those over to Lutro. Alright, so what I've done now is I've basically just taken a piece of like kite string, pretty long length, longer than I would need for anything else in here, and then a measuring tape, which I've just laid out flat. And then I've got a notepad here with all the different cable links that I know I'm going to need, or different cables like 24-pin, 8-pin EPS, 6-pin PCI Express MOBO connector for auxiliary power, 6-pin GPU times 6, SATA times 2 for the upper drive, SATA times 2 for the lower drives, Molex times 2 for the pump, and then pumps, and then Molex times 1 for that guy. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take the string and I'm going to lead it from where it's going to start on the power supply up to wherever the end connection is, and I'm going to add maybe 1 inch to that. We'll see. And I'm going to write down the measurements, and then that's how we're going to get our links for all the custom cables. Now, people have asked me before about these SATA cables. They're round SATA cables that Lutro just put sleeving on so that they look better. But as you can see, they are too long. So I'm gonna measure those just in case. I don't know if they have different length SATA cables. They're pretty much a standard, like a 3-inch short, and then something like, I don't know, 16 inches for normal or something. I don't know. We'll go ahead and measure all that out and see. I'll just give it to them anyway. But anyway, it's all cleaned up. My major goal for today was to clean the thing and then get these measurements. They've actually been asking me to get these measurements for them for like 3 months. I don't know. It's the first chance I've had to actually tear the system apart. So, all right, let's do it. So while I was in here, I decided to go ahead and reroute the fan cables. Yeah, the PCI Express cables. As you can see, they're not perfect. I'm going very anal over these wires. I don't know why, since they're coming out. But instead of swooping in the side and taking up all the space next to the SATA cables, I've crammed them all down that little bitty hole down there. I've crammed it in the hole, guys. That's how babies are made. Anyway, yeah, so it's going down in there. And, well, that gives me a pretty good idea of how long the cables need to be, since the end of the PCI Express is right there. So, literally, I just subtract about 2 inches from each one of these, and there's my length. So, yeah, there's that. But tell me what you guys think about this versus when they were kind of going sideways. I thought with everything else in this case kind of having an up and down theme, that these going like kind of a diagonal looked really silly in there. So tell me what you think. All right, well, I got all my measurements and my chicken scratch there, so I guess it's going to be time to hook everything back up, put it back together, and stop screwing with this focus. All right, guys, I will keep this alive, this vlog thing, once the cables are done, and we'll come back with part 2 of getting it all wired up. We'll do a review of those cables, because these are like the stiff, it's very stiff, like plastic or nylon sleeving, which I'm not a huge fan of, and we're going to be doing paracord on the new cables, so that'll be fun. All right, guys, JayzTwoCents as always. Thanks for watching. Follow on Twitter if you have any questions or just want to see some behind-the-scenes pictures of this thing. Check out Instagram, and as always, guys, I will see you in the next one, which is going to be CES. Yeah, baby!